IU students from South Korea are watching the news especially closely as the showdown between the US and North Korea ramps up. The students worry about their families back home in the event of war. Good evening and welcome back to Hoosier Talk. My name is Juan Alvarado and tonight is the night. The NCAA championship game has finally arrived, and to speak with me is Lydia Knoll, live from the atrium at the media school at IU. IU students got an early morning wake-up alert Sunday about an active shooter on campus. IUPD police responded to reports of multiple shots fired at 1:30 a.m. just outside the Henderson parking garage. Police believe the active shooter was connected to an off-campus robbery near the 500 block of Southwest Avenue. Once Kavar realized he was trapped in the cave, he yelled for help for hours, hoping one of the cars on the road might hear his cries for help. But after a while, he decided it was time to control his emotions in order to come up with a plan to survive inside this cave. This 3'5" cave is the only source of light the cave has, and Kavar was in here for several hours. Every Friday at 2:45, students from the Muslim Student Association gather at Brian Room at IMU to read verses from the Quran and listen to sermons similar to those that are read at Christian churches. If someone with celiac disease were to consume gluten, he or she would suffer a deficiency in nutrient consumption. With a gluten-free diet, however, he or she may be able to revert the effects in only matters of days. Inside this 11-player arsenal Coach Todd Yegley sets up each week, there are individuals who make a difference for IU in their respective areas of play. Starting from the bottom of the lineup, freshman goalie Trey Muse has earned his spot inside IU's three posts. The young goalkeeper is not only agile when blocking shots, but comfortable with coming out to deal with opponents' crosses, giving his defenders a feeling of security. I feel like something we gotta take into account is that Lalas is from a different era of soccer. Before, you used to see Lalas playing, his highlights were on the US men's soccer jersey. Pelés were with the Brazil jersey, Maradona's with the Argentinian jersey. Right now, all the players, their highlights are with the club jersey. That's where they get the money from. And when they come to play for national teams, sometimes they come in orders from their coaches not to do this slide, not to go too hard in this one, because in the end of the day, you got to return to your club in order to perform for the team that's paying you the most. Indiana is one out of 4 U.S. states where the fatal drug overdose rate has quadrupled since 1999.
This crisis affects everyone, all socioeconomic levels, all races, all backgrounds.
One Hoosier is sent to the hospital for an opioid overdose every 2.5 hours. That crisis is what brought Indiana Governor Eric Holcomb and IU President Michael McRobbie together at the Indiana State House. McRobbie announced Indiana University will join the state's battle against drugs by starting a $50 million Grand Challenges program to find solutions for the issue.
We will work to address key issues in substance abuse prevention, early intervention, treatment, recovery, and enforcement.
IU plans on hiring 10 faculty members, increasing the number of researchers, and using student work to seek for strategies to accomplish the goals. People gathered for the announcement watched a video that told the story of Nick and Jack Savage, two Indiana brothers who passed away after experimenting with opioids.
Nick and Jack were 18 months apart.
Their mother, Becky, has turned into an activist.
I still can't believe that they would make choices that they did that night. This can happen to anybody. No families are untouchable.
IU's nursing school dean, Robin Newhouse, will be leading the research into how addictions take hold and take lives.
Together, we will develop a deeper understanding of the neurobiological, social, behavioral mechanisms that underlie addiction and pain response to addiction in community context.
Where there's hope, there's a chance to save lives.
Reporting for IU Newsnet, I am Juan Alvarado. No cell reception, no water, no food. These were the conditions IU freshman Lucas Kavar endured while trapped inside Sullivan Cave almost 10 miles south of Bloomington. He went with a 12-member IU caving group. It was to be a beginner's trip, but it turned into a lesson in survival.
I think just walking away from the interview when he told me he felt like he was going to die in that cave, it's pretty shocking to hear another person say that, and yeah.
Sarah Verschoor from the IDS was one of the few to speak to Lucas Kavar after 60 harrowing hours in the Padlock Cave. Somehow, he got left behind by his caving group, which locked the opening behind them. With his only source of hydration licking water of cave walls and considering eating insects, Kavar wondered if this was the end. Once Kavar realized he was trapped in the cave, he yelled for help for hours, hoping one of the cars on the road might hear his cries for help. But after a while, he decided it was time to control his emotions in order to come up with a plan to survive inside this cave. This 3'5" gate is the only source of light the cave has, and Kavar was in here for several hours. According to reports, the caving club eventually realized he was missing and he was rescued 3 days and 2 nights later. It made news everywhere, from the New York Times to the Washington Post and here on campus.
I feel like there should be better safety regulations and stuff. With having a club that's something like just caving, like you're out in the wilderness, I feel like, like just head counts and just stuff like that to make sure everyone's there and okay.
Kavar is now back in his IU dorm to rest, and just 2 days later was back in his classes and back to his job at Wells Library. The Muslim Student Association has existed at IU since the early 90s, and since then it has been seeking to educate the general student body about Islam. Since the late 2000s, the organization has been offering Jummah services at the Indiana Memorial Union, where members of the Muslim community gather to express their faith. Every Friday at 2:45, students from the Muslim Student Association gather at Ryan Room at IMU to read verses from the Quran and listen to sermons similar to those that are read at Christian churches. However, Muhammad Sabiullah, former president and current senior advisor of the MSA, says he has noticed some changes ever since President Donald Trump signed an executive order banning entrance to citizens from several Muslim countries.
I've seen new students coming to the Friday prayer since that happened. So obviously it's a new semester, but I've seen new students who I haven't seen before coming out to this. And that includes more than just like freshmen. It includes sophomores and juniors that have been at the school for a while and now feel like they need to come out to this to show them solidarity.
On the other hand, junior student Zareen Hussein says ever since the executive order, she has received backing not only from the MSA, but the Bloomington community as a whole.
Just the plain fact that I'm Muslim, a lot of people who aren't are stepping up to offer support and just constantly checking up on me to make sure that I'm okay, or if somebody does anything negative against me, that they have my back, so they'll always be there for me.
Currently, Ullah says the MSA is seeking to better its relationships outside of the Muslim community and make it known that Muslims care more than just their safety in the United States.